mamas, and welcome to today's video. I'm going to be sharing with you our curriculum choices for mostly third grade and a little bit of second grade in there. And as I share all of these different curriculum and supplements, I'm going to be giving you a little flip through of all the books so that you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like on the inside. The first subject category that I want to touch on is language arts. We do have some boxed curriculum that we really like to use, and currently my second grader is working through Logic of English level C. And when we started using the curriculum, we started her with level B, and we found that we really liked it. So we're going to continue using this curriculum, and the next level up is Foundations level D. The reason why we love Logic of English so much is because it really is interactive for the kids, and it also approaches decoding words, reading words, spelling, all of those different types of things in a very logical way, hence the name Logic of English. In this curriculum, my child not only practices reading phonetically, but she's also been practicing spelling. And so each of the different lessons have spelling that pertains to things that they've learned before. So all the spelling rules that they've learned before, and also helping them to spell using the new rule, or the new phonogram, I should say, that that chapter had included. They also incorporate a little bit of grammar. I think in this level, they have a little bit more of that. The other thing that they practice is copy work, and in the previous levels, including the current one that we're in, so level C, they were practicing handwriting. When I purchased level C, after having done level B, we just needed the teacher's manual and the workbook. And so this one actually came with a few more things. First, it came with the spelling rule flashcards. So the spelling rules go along with how they teach a child to decode words. I'm glad that it brought this because we don't really have like anything that's helping her to keep track of all those rules, and she has to do a lot of memorizing. The other thing that it came with, which all of the other levels do come with, are these readers. Additionally, we need to purchase and or buy from the library other readers. So for instance, this is one that we have. It's called Mr. Putter and Tabby Pour the Tea. I did read through this. It's very, very sweet. This is going to be so great that she can actually dive into other stories that kind of go outside of the readers. For additional spelling practice, I purchased Evan Moore's Building Spelling Skills for grade 2 and grade 3. I have not gotten anything Evan Moore before, but I wanted to try it out because it seemed like it was going to be pretty straightforward for my daughter to practice, and you know, the different lessons are not very long. In the beginning of the book, it does have these lists of different words that go along with the different weeks. So that is going to help her be able to go through each of those things. I'm going to cut this out. Actually, I need to make copies of it and cut it out because for some reason they're like front and back. I don't know why they made it that way. Once she is starting to practice, they have the child just copy and spell, cover and spell, so that kind of starts to help them memorize the spelling. And then they have filling in the boxes for the different spellings, and I like it because each of the boxes is the proper height for the actual letters that they're spelling. So they really have to think about that when they are spelling those words. Particularly for grade 2, it does start on the easy side, but I think that's a good thing for her because I want her to kind of get into the rhythm of using this new curriculum, and I don't want it to be intimidating for her. So this book is going to take us through the summer because we do homeschool year round. And then once we're ready to pick up this book, she is going to be more acquainted with how this book works, and she'll be able to work through it pretty easily. This is another resource that I am taking a chance on, and it is Spectrum Writing. Again, I got grade 2 and grade 3 for this. The reason why I decided to purchase this is because I really do like the way they laid things out and how gentle it is as the child moves through each of the lessons. That's literally what caught my eye, and I did a lot of comparing to other different writing curriculum, and I felt so overwhelmed by all the different text on the page. So this is gonna work out well for us for right now. And then once she's ready, we're going to move into grade 3. Now grade 3 does have more text on the different pages, but she's gonna be able to handle that by the time we get there. Next, I wanna share some resources that we're gonna be using for handwriting. If you've seen some of my previous videos, especially the homeschool updates, I was hard pressed to find a handwriting curriculum that I thought would work well with our second grader, our rising third grader. So I think I struck gold because I was watching Alex from the Homeschool of Bel Air, and she shared this brand. It's Zahner Blozer or Blazer. Sorry, I'm like totally botching that. When she did a flip through of this, I was sold. I thought it was going to work so well for my daughter because unlike handwriting without tears, which is what we used before, it has the lines. So it still has all of those red and blue lines with the dashed lines in the middle. And I do think my daughter really needs to practice with that first. So this first book is for second grade, around there, and it's going to take her through all of her manuscript writing practice, which she really needs to do. And then we have this handwriting for grade 3, which starts off with manuscript writing and then goes into cursive. Cursive writing is something that we had been practicing, and she did have that with her Logic of English curriculum. So you can pick regular manuscript writing or cursive writing for your Logic of English handwriting practice. And so we did start off with that, but we really need additional practice with that. So I thought that this would be very fitting to practice her cursive. The next book I want to share is Explode the Code, and this is level 4. Right now we are working through level 2, but as I was considering the next level up, so level 3, it seemed like it was gonna be too simple for my daughter. And even this is going through stuff that we're already doing now. So I want her to practice a lot of these concepts still so she can really feel very confident in them. But I'm thinking that once we finish this one, we're just going to jump into level 5 or even 6, depending on the content of the book. What I love about Explode the Code is that it helps the child to practice their reading skills in a lot of different contexts. It's also pretty consistent with the levels that came before it, so it's going to be very familiar for my daughter as far as the exercises that she's going to practice. This book incorporates pictures and images so that the child can make the connection between the words and the pictures, which I think is fantastic. It has the child circling the correct word and circling the correct picture that belongs with the word, and then it has different sentences and it asks whether this sentence is logical or not given the different words that are in the sentence. So all of those different types of things. And then it incorporates a lot of spelling rules. So this is going to complement what we're doing right now very well. Then we have grammar. So learning all the different parts of speech, her grammar, literacy, literary devices, things like that. And this is something that I did share in my last video with curriculum choices for first grade, but this is the no nonsense guide to grammar. This is just this very straight to the point kind of book about everything to do with grammar, and I just love it. It makes a lot of sense to me. So we're gonna kind of use this as a jumping off point, and then we're going to be doing interactive notebooks to further understand and practice all things grammar. So I purchased these notebooks. They actually came in a set. They were multiple colors. I love them. So she is going to do an interactive notebook with the notebook of her choice, whatever color she wants. And so an interactive notebook essentially is where a child kind of cuts and pastes different images or different like boxes of text and things like that. and they will practice their grammar that way, or whatever subject that they're practicing. I thought that this was going to work so well because my daughter is very much a hands-on visual learner, and so doing an interactive notebook just made a lot of sense to me for her. The other thing that I'm considering is using Montessori grammar symbols, which we already have, and different Montessori techniques for teaching grammar. So that's kind of still in my mind. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that yet. Moving on to math. Again, if you've seen my previous curriculum videos and homeschool updates, all of those things, you know that we use Singapore Dimensions math, and we are not straying away from that. So we are going to be digging into level 3A and level 3B for this upcoming school year. In my curriculum choices for first grade, I did talk about how I don't normally purchase the set. You can definitely do that with this type of curriculum. I just purchased the workbook and the textbook, and that has been sufficient for us in the past, so I'm hoping that it's gonna work out like this in the future. It's hard for me to share why I love this curriculum so much, but simply put, it just has worked for us. We lucked out because this is the first curriculum that we tried with my oldest daughter, and it worked. So it's very simple, and it's very much open and go, which is what I love. I realized about myself this past year that I am not a big fan of sitting down and doing lessons for everything. So this curriculum makes it really easy to help the child or help my kids learn new concepts and be able to practice them together, and I don't feel stressed out in the process. So a lot of my energy does go to planning, not really planning, but preparing to do lessons in Logic of English. And so I really love this because it's, like I said, it's open and go for us. The next resource is kind of like a guinea pig resource, and that is Highlights Grade 2. So I only purchased grade 2 for this because I wanted to just try it out. They focus on addition for this book, and I think they also have subtraction, different things like that. So we're gonna see how this works. And it's simply a workbook to help her practice all of the different things that she's learning currently in her grade 2 Singapore Dimensions math curriculum. I thought this would be a fun way for her to practice, so I want to give her the choice if she wants to do the workbook pages, or maybe I'll give her like some things from the workbook to do, and then throughout the week I'm gonna have this available to her to practice. And so this one is a little bit prettier. As we go through the levels for Singapore Dimensions math, especially the workbooks, they're not in color anymore, which really just, it makes me kind of sad that they do that. But this one is pretty colorful, and it's got really interactive pictures. And again, like I mentioned, my daughter's a visual learner, so this hopefully will work really well for her to just kind of pick up and practice. The next book, again, this is something that I've shared before, and it's called Building Thinking Skills, and this specifically is for grades 2 to 3. So this is going to carry us through the next school year. I do currently have the K through 1 version of this curriculum, and I talked about that in my last video. This one specifically goes through and has the child practice higher order thinking activities. So this includes logical thinking, similarities and differences, sequences, classifications, analogies, vocabulary development, following and writing directions. So this kind of cross-cuts different subjects, but really does focus, like I said, on those higher order thinking skills. The book is perforated, so you can take out the different chapters. And so I decided to put it in a little folder like this to make it a lot less intimidating, because these books are really thick and heavy, and I will tell you, I did not enjoy having to open it and teach from it, just because it did something to my mind. Like, seeing a thick book like that was not appealing to me, and nor was it appealing to my daughter. Now I want to touch on science and history. The first book is Everything You Need to Ace Science, and Everything You Need to Ace World History. The science one is broken up into units, and then the world history one is broken up into chapters. These books are geared towards middle schoolers. However, I like the way that they laid out the sequence of topics. And so what I'm finding now, because I am actually designing a unit study for us to do life cycles, and so I needed to kind of look and see if they had anything about that. And lo and behold, they do. And I was able to kind of pull some of the information from this book and translate it into more accessible language and content for us to study this topic. I'm also considering doing an interactive notebook for these subjects as well. So I'll have her, grab a notebook and either split it in half or do 2 separate notebooks to do that. The last thing that I want to share with you is a goodie. So I did that in my last video, and this book is called A World Full of Poems, Inspiring Poetry for Children. I don't remember how I came across this, but I feel like I just saw it on Amazon. You know how you put something in your cart and they give you suggestions for things you might want? Yeah, that's definitely a rabbit hole for me, and I think that's how I found this book. But it's such a great book. It was such a great find, and it has a lot of different poetry that fits into different categories. So for instance, these poems are about cities, towns, and travel. It says, poetry can take us from the quietest seaside town to the biggest bustling city, on planes through the sky, over clickety train tracks, and on boats bobbing across the sea. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with these poems, but I'm just hoping at a base level that we'll enjoy reading them. So I'm thinking about incorporating it into our morning gathering time, and then maybe use it as copy work. Some of the poems are pretty short, so I think that might work really well. All right, mamas, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Take care, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.